With us right now is the former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. Ambassador, very good to have you back. It sounds like a pressure campaign, Ambassador. I don't want to overanalyze it here. You're the expert at that. But it sounds like the administration is trying to say, cool it. What do you think?
I think, hi, Neil. Good to be with you as always. Listen, I think the administration is speaking in two voices. It's sort of a good cop and bad cop scenario. You had John Kirby before from the National Security Council, Matt Miller from the State Department, being unequivocal in their support for Israel and expressing understanding of the great tactical and military difficulties we have fighting a terrorist group which is embedded behind a civilian population, using that civilian population as human shields, and also is underground in over 300 miles of tunnels, and how difficult that is. And then you have other voices like the Vice President's voice, and at one point even the president himself saying that Israel was indiscriminately bombing. Occasionally, Secretary of State Blinken has talked about too many Palestinians being killed, too many civilians being killed. So it's sort of it's a dual message. At the end of the day, what can I say? Israel has to continue the war, irrespective of what's coming out of Washington. It is an existential war for us. We can't lose. If we don't defeat Hamas, we have no internal security. Large parts of the country become uninhabitable. We have 250,000 internal refugees, people who can't go back to their houses. They've been living in hotels for 2.5 months. They won't go back to their houses along the borders unless we defeat Hamas, unless we defeat the terrorists. So for us, it's a war of no choice. And it would be much better to have, total support from Washington, from, the good cops and the good cops, not bad cops. But at the end of the day, we're just going to have to keep on going.
I'm wondering if the president himself is one of those bad cops, because not only has he rebuked Israel, or these multiple attacks on the Lebanese military and the Gaza war widening, he's gone on to talk about a two-state solution. We mustn't lose hope for that. He's also said we must be more sympathetic toward the Palestinians. Says that this is an issue that Israel just has to be more careful about civilian casualties in Gaza. In other words, he's more or less saying you got to change things. And I wonder in these secret meetings behind closed doors, and are you worried that aid to Israel is something that could be put on the table? We're going to cut that back if you don't cut this out.
Well, so far that hasn't been the case. As a matter of fact, the president just expedited the shipment of very vital tank ammunition to Israel, bypassing Congress. And he hasn't revisited the case of 2014, another war we had with Hamas, when President Obama didn't supply vital helicopter ammunition to us during that, with the claim that we were causing too many casualties on the Palestinian civilian side. But if I have a second to talk about that, the Hamas gives out figures of casualties. We know that they're greatly exaggerated. They do it every time. And they include the number of terrorists we've killed in that number. We've killed about 7,000 or 8,000 terrorists. They also include in that number the number of Palestinians who've been killed by rockets fired by Hamas. About 30% of their rockets fall short onto Palestinian neighborhoods. And so if you look at the actual casualty numbers, the ratio of civilian to combatant deaths in Gaza is about 2 to 1. That's about half the ratio of the United States battles in Afghanistan and Iraq, or even NATO's battle against Bosnia in Serbia in the late 1990s. By international modern standards, we're taking extraordinary precautions. And if Israel were, Neil, if we were indiscriminately bombing, we wouldn't be losing 10 soldiers like we lost the other day. And Israelis are scratching their heads and saying, hey, we're taking these impossible losses, these excruciating losses, and there are people accusing us of bombing indiscriminately. And not only is it inaccurate, it is flagrantly unfair and painful to us.
All right, Ambassador, we'll see what happens. Very good catching up with you, sir.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.